Welcome. As we come up to the winter solstice, let's just think about the light. If we look around this 3D world, there's a lot of what we could perceive as darkness. The darkness we are most interested in talking about here, though, is that which resides within people. The fact is that as we grow up from childhood, things just happen to us. It's part of life, part of us becoming who we need to be. By people's actions and our own, what we perceive as mistakes or poor guidance. Some people try to show a happy face, no matter what's happening to them. They always smile and they always look like nothing's wrong in their world. And for others, they just are often in tears. You often see them, tears in their eyes, when they speak. Of course, the people who look like nothing's ever going to happen to them in their lives because everything's always so good. It could be that some of them are very, very blessed. And it could also be they just want to bottle everything away. They don't want it to be visible, not to them or anyone else. So they shut it away. And everything's great. How are you doing? Everything's fine. Life's great. And then they get home and they think about how great their life is. And for them, they might find it's not great at all. But they can't tell anyone. For them, doing that is actually not probably a good thing. Because they're bottling up those feelings inside them, making themselves dark inside by filling themselves with this guilt, pain, suffering. And then others may show their feelings right away. Sometimes they may look miserable, cry a lot, thinking about what's happening to them. But to be honest, crying, in my view, is a really good way of letting go. A really good way for you to let go of the tension and stress that's quite often built up from other lifetimes. And anyway, it needs to be released. Bottling it up won't help it be released. We need to let it go. I have to be honest and say we don't fully understand yet what's going on with our emotional releases. However, let us just say that they often include past life pain, suffering and guilt, sometimes after many lifetimes of suffering. Of course, every time we come back, every time we're incarnated here, we obviously think, I'm going to let go of that this time. But sometimes we just fail, or we just run out of time, or we just couldn't do it properly. This life of ascension for us all now, this is our last chance to let go of all this, what I call dross. So there are many here on a spiritual journey who are having to release a lot of these old wounds, let me say, at this time. Me included. I've got an old spear wound somewhere in my shoulder blade. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely a wound. It feels like a wound. I'm sure if you feel these things, you'll know exactly what I mean. It could be an emotional wound, a heartache, a heartbreak. It could be any sort of wound. Let's just use that word. As we grow in age and hopefully become wiser, we soon start to realise that every day we should, and indeed need, to send love and light out into the world, and to everyone, everything in it. But the wise person realises that first of all, we need to learn how to love ourselves so that we can fully send that love into the world. If we try to send love and light without loving yourself fully, it will be greatly diminished. So first and foremost, start to love yourself. Not just the good things, accept the not so good things as being part of you, that you may feel you want to change at some point, but they're you now, and don't think they're evil or bad. Just accept if you're not happy with them, these whatever they are, emotions or whatever, how you react, just work on it. But they're not evil, they're not bad, they're just part of you at this moment in time. As you learn to love yourself, you will heal these things within inside of you. And we need to hold that light within us, and healing ourselves first does that. Let's use an analogy of a water pipe, which I often use. And it's filled up inside with rubbish, and so the water will not flow easily through that pipe until we clear away the blockages. This is why I transmit the healing I do, to help people in this. This is what letting go of the dross does. It helps us to let go of the rubbish so that we can have a clearer pipe, that the light will flow through, that the love will flow through. This pipe is from our heart to our higher self. I can tell you I'm very gifted in being able to transmit some healing that will help with this. And there are other ways, of course. The main thing is to be aware of it. According to the Old Testament, in the beginning, there was only darkness. Otherwise, why would it say, let there be light, and there was light? Because there was no light at that beginning. This is because out of the nothingness came creation. And creation required two opposites, yin and yang, to interact, to do all of the creating. You have to have that duality so that you can have creation. One, of course, was darkness, the other light. So the thing is, most if not all the folks who are listening to this now, I would imagine, are probably light workers. Even if you're not aware of it, you will become one. And that means that we work in and with the light. This light that we're talking about. The light that we have been blessed to receive these last few years has been making massive changes to us. This light we've been referring to as downloads. It's been changing us bit by bit by bit to enable us to become who we are now being. We're seeing and have seen changes to our consciousness, our understanding, and indeed making us human beings being human, as I like to call it. But what are we referring to when we say light? For those of a religious persuasion, it may mean a ray or rays from God, Source, the infinite being. For spiritual people, it could mean the same, or slightly different ways of looking at it. But one thing's for sure, it can certainly be seen and thought of as energy from Source. When we look at the world today, it looks as if it is full of darkness. And that darkness has been, by design, radiated out to people to cause fear. I feel that love is the antidote of fear, and so can transmute this darkness into light. I see myself and others as spiritual samurai, and I'll use the Japanese term from my kari called aganahi, and that in this instance means moving towards any darkness or fear, towards any old karma, moving towards with arms and heart open wide, to embrace it, not running away from it. You know, a lot of people have spent a big part of their lives, this lifetime, running away from their karma because they don't want to face it. They've tried before and failed. Well, we can't do that anymore. This is our last chance. We need to embrace this karma. We need to make our minds up that we want to clear it. It's what's dragging us down. It's stopping us being lighter and becoming enlightened. Let's run towards this old karma. Run towards this old fear with your heart open wide and embrace it with those arms. Running towards the darkness. Embrace it, and with our light we transmute that darkness into love. We should all be filling our hearts with as much light as possible, so that we are always ready to run towards this darkness and stop that fear from entering the ear. Or, as I like to say, keep the fear out of ear. If you walk in to a pitch black room and light a match, you will soon see just how a little bit of light can make a dark room become bright. And this is also true in this case, because it only takes a little bit of light to make a dark world bright. Thank you for listening. I hope this makes a difference to you in one way or another. Thank you for listening.